Welcome to the Armchair Imagineering Challenge. Last month, our theme park design expert, Rob Yeo, issued a challenge to all of the internet. Design a food cart to be placed inside a haunted, forest-themed land inside of a theme park. Artists of all ages from all around the world submitted their concepts, and today we are going to reveal them to you and choose a winner. With me are three wonderful members of the community. Rob Yeo, host of the challenge.
Hello.
The leader of the Waltoneers, DSNY Newscast Jack.
Hi there, Waltoneers.
And everyone's favorite bromine brother, Rob Plays.
Hello, everybody.
You're welcome to use that from now on, Rob, because that's pretty great. Bromine Bros, that should be your Patreon.
That's my Waltoneers is the Bromine Bros. A lot of theme park fans and hot tub, maintenance people.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, guy of Bromine.
Rob, before we jump into the entries, can you give us a quick look at a quick rundown about what this challenge was?
Okay, so for the first challenge of Armchair Imagineering, which the entire competition was, suddenly there's lots of people with lots of time on their hands and lots of sad news, so wanted to try and do something that's gonna, get people to be creative, spread some joy, and get everyone's imaginations working. And then make sure that this is really all about a creation challenge rather than purely artistic talent challenge, because otherwise lots of people get put off who have fantastic ideas. So for the first one, we wanted a challenge that seemed simple, but people could take it in lots of different directions, which we'll see was the case. So this was design a food cart for a haunted forest themed area. The only conditions I put for this was you can choose what food and drink is going to be sold from there, and it has to be a movable cart. You can't just say, build a building and then say, this is my cart, even though it's the size of a hangar.
Perfect. So the building's got to be able to move, and you got to... I believe some entries chose what food or drink they were selling. Some of them were just more focused on the design, but I think there's some fun things to take a look at. So let's start off with the Young Imagineers, which is a younger group of folks who've submitted some of their entries and have some really fun stuff. So this first one here is from Anon, age 7. It's called it's called Fast Food and sells hamburgers, hot dogs, fries, and milkshakes. I dig it, man. I eat all of those things.
Yeah. It's a simple menu, which means it's going to have a long line, right? No matter what.
You know what? That's the truth. That isn't it? That's the truth.
Right?
Yeah, whenever they introduce something really crazy into a theme park, in a couple of weeks, it's always back to chicken nuggets, unless it's something really magical.
Fries in Animal Kingdom. Remember when they did that? And it was really popular. They just sold fries
at
McDonald's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Petra fries.
So this would be very popular, I'm guessing.
Petra fries. That's right, Petra fries.
And look how happy the cast member is. That's fantastic service.
Up next, we have Kara, age 5, with a candy cart. Lollipops with faces on come out on Halloween. All the spiders wandering are real. Wait, Kara, you can't put real spiders on a food cart, man.
What did you just see? And what I like about this is, Kara, there's a bit of mission creep where it's a food cart brief that's turned into a land, because we've got a roller coaster with a queue line. It's like a whole mini land. So I think she's definitely got a promising future ahead as an Imagineer, as long as she gets the budgets.
I really like... Well, I mean, but we've got to talk a little bit about the real spiders. Jack, would you order...
Listen. You're never going to get... Here's the thing. No mosquitoes,
challenge.
No other bugs around, right? The spiders are going to take care of that. And it's
exactly.
You don't have to do the upkeep. The spiders will do the upkeep for you.
They told Walt you couldn't build Disneyland. You're telling Kara you can't have real spiders. Like, if you can dream it, you can do it.
You know what? They do have real bees, though, in some places, right? Those indoor beehives. Why couldn't we have, like, a plexiglass spider den of terror?
Exactly. It's for the research and development department to worry about. This is blue sky.
Have the spiders behind one plexiglass and then behind that you actually have the food and treats and all that other stuff behind it. So if you kind of got these spiders, I can see where it's coming from. I can see where Carl's coming from with this. It's pretty nice, the design. Work.
Okay, and then we have another Anon Age 9. Terry's Field Tasty Treats featuring monster dogs and cinnamon spider websels. Woo! I like spider websels that you could dip your web frosting out of a cauldron. Poor Terry doesn't understand why folks are so afraid of her cart that features an AA bat.
I'm sorry, Dan. You butchered the pun. It's terrified. Terrified.
Oh, terrified. Oh, what did I say? Terry Field?
That's a good pun.
Was it? I thought she might be related to Sally Fields, so that's my fault.
Right. That's the backstory. Sally Field's husband opened a Halloween cart, and
I like this one, Jack. What do you think?
Spider websels.
Well, doesn't understand the reason why people are scared of an AA bat. I mean, I think we're all a bit scared of an AA bat at the moment, but yeah, no, I think it's a fantastic design. I love kind of the haunted tree kind of aspect with the eyes and the bat right there, dead center, scaring the guests as they walk up. I think it's a fantastic design.
And if they haven't done it yet, I can see Disney taking spider websels and using it in California Adventure over at Marvel.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
In the Adventures campus
now.
Absolutely.
Get yourself a lawyer and copyright this.
Yeah.
Because, this is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That is. I love spider websels.
See, there's the corporate tie-in.
I love spider websels so much. It's such a great idea. All right, Rob, will you set us up for the first big category?
Okay, so basically there were so many entries. I think we got 82 in the end that we needed some way of categorizing them. So I just kind of went with the natural themes that emerge. And of course, if we're talking haunted forests, one approach that really comes to mind is kind of, wicked witches and wizards and magic and that kind of aspect. So these are the entries where there's a witch or a wizard or some kind of magic component to it.
Okay. So let's take a look at the first entry from Spotweld. Baba Yaga's egg cream, Black Forest egg creams. I've never had an egg cream.
Well, like a Cadbury cream egg.
Yeah, like a Cadbury cream egg. Yeah.
No. Egg creams are like they're like seltzer and like chocolate milk and like.
I don't know what you're describing.
That's what an egg cream is, Rob. Come on, Rob.
It says it right down there: refreshing seltzer and tempting chocolate and sweet cherry flavors.
Yeah.
That's the those egg creams I've never had before because it's like an ice cream float, but not.
It's the name puts me off.
But look at that! You've got the chicken legs actually running the cart wheel.
Yeah.
You kind of they're actually pedaling the cart. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a nice design though. But
it's like got a bit of a steampunk, kind of reminds me of the Festival of Fantasy Maleficent float.
Yeah, with the dragon,
Yeah.
It's got great kinetics to this one. Could you imagine this lumbering past you when you're queuing for an attraction? You definitely stop and take a look at it.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Yeah.
That's ultimately what I really enjoyed about this challenge so much is that the idea that these carts are mobile and that and people who took that into play and really played up the fact that these carts are actually moving around the lands and not just you could pick them up and move them, So I really dig it.
They're almost like parade floats in many ways.
Absolutely.
They're so elaborate. Yeah, so many of these. Yeah.
Oh, no, definitely.
All right. Next up, we have Madison Gillum, IG. Her Instagram is mtagdesign, and this is Old Forest Hag's Popcorn Shack. Ooh, there's some interesting popcorn flavors.
What I like about this is, you could be greeted by a cast member or you could be greeted by a ghost because there's a screen where you order from. So I like the idea of that giving you a scare, and then you've got the animatronic cat to add a little bit of interest. So that's very clever.
I can see something like the animatronic cat becoming like an Instagram character, where everybody takes a picture of you know how that happens in theme parks sometimes. There's one animatronic or one character that everyone just loves and just, completely takes in and embraces. I could see an animatronic cat totally being that kind of character.
Hashtag popcorn cats. I mean,
Exactly. There you go.
I can see that. Stranger things have happened.
Hashtag popcorn cats. Yeah, I dig it. I also want to try. I also really just did love over in Adventureland, or maybe it's Critter Country or Frontierland, the churro popcorn, that cinnamon sugar. We need more flavored, fresh popcorn in the parks, and so I highly support this idea of flavored, fresh popcorn.
Yeah. Take a leaf out of Tokyo's book because each land has a different flavor there.
Ooh, I like this a lot. This is a really fun idea. All right, up next we got Trickster Bell with the Troll House. It serves meat pies, hot cross buns, and delicious cookies, but you have to put your hand in the possessed tree to pick it up. Nothing better than being certified by demons for a hot cross bun.
Is it bad?
This would almost fit in Norway. I mean, the troll house.
That makes sense. See, that's a lot more creative because I was thinking corporate tie-ins. You get Nestle to sponsor this because they have Nestle Toll House, so Nestle Troll House, and then you're already making money before the stand is even built.
Yep.
Well, you get someone to pay for the stand.
Exactly.
I really like the idea of how you pick up the food because it makes it almost like a fun interactive experience rather than just going to a cart to buy food.
I think it needs like lights or sound effects or smoke or something. So like every fifth person or randomly, there'll be like a huge scream or like a jump thing to make you drop your food everywhere.
Or the real spiders from the other cart.
Yes, synergy.
Teaming up. Well, a group challenge next time.
Or just your food doesn't appear. Your food just doesn't appear within the thing, and that's the surprise. You don't get food.
That's the surprise.
Spiders.
All right, next we've got Molly Warner and Tim Diswill. I like how I had to pronounce all these names that I don't know how to pronounce.
Yeah, I like that.
Deep in the forest, a witch roams, peddling her goods to make a living. With 2 enchanted trees she raised, crawling around carrying her cauldron full of mystical concoctions. A crow sits on the tree branches. Beware, she may leave a curse, but her goods taste too good to be true. I really, really like this little design, specifically for the next slide, which I'll throw up, where they have designed internal mechanics to make the cart appear as though the roots are pulling it forward as it moves, as it moves around. So I really love this one. This one's a really clever idea.
So they're almost like tentacles, almost like, Ursula's tentacles kind of like crawling forward with the wheels underneath. I like that. It's good.
Exactly. Just thinking about different mechanics, things that are going to make you, stop and think. And then theme design is all about stuff you can't see in the real world. And unless you've taken something, you definitely are not going to see walking trees in a wood. So it's such a fantastic idea.
Well, this is another one of those Instagrammable things, I think, because if this cauldron was always kind of bubbling and misty and whatever you were purchasing, you had to reach into the cauldron to kind of unearth, that would be the ultimate kind of glowy cauldron pulling out your potion, line up, right.
That's the Instagram moment there. The boomerang of the dry ice as you're pulling it out of the cauldron.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that working.
Next, we've got Albert Villier with the Poison Peddler. This one is gorgeous. It's on a bike system. An old witch who offers her services to ignorant villagers. It offers a comfortable seat for the kettle driver and a convenient gallows for unhappy customers. Yikes. This is beautiful, though.
So I just want to point out, this is my favorite one. I love this concept, mainly because even though it isn't, it's not even implied. It's just kind of through the design of the cart itself. I can imagine there being an actor who's doing the pedaling and the pushing, and that sort of mood that is implied through the fact that there's gallows there and that they're the ignorant villagers. I can see this being a really fun experience, even if you're not going to buy a treat, to just follow it around and see this actor pedaling it around and just kind of riffing with all the guests who are coming and going.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the design. There's so many clever details to it, and you could definitely imagine that being sort of, literally pedaled around the land. And there's effects, there's smoke, there's a snow white poison apple. It's just really well done.
Yep.
It's almost like Streetmosphere, though, isn't it? There's so many of these carts are kind of, integrating this, like Rob says, about the themed element with the character actor and things like that. The Streetmosphere, you could just watch from afar and, watch people interact. I mean, they wouldn't necessarily do too many sales if there's too much Streetmosphere, but, it would be a show all to itself.
Or maybe there would be, even if you think about it, if buying something at the cart is almost like a way to buy yourself interactive moments with the person pedaling around, people would be like lining up around the block just to be able to like riff with them.
You could charge more for the items because of that, because it's more of like a bit more like the build a lightsaber, Savvy's Workshop kind of thing.
Yeah. Shopping is entertainment.
Yeah, Chapek would be happy with that.
Sure.
Very proud of it.
Next, we've got Kimber Grubman. I hope I'm pronouncing your names right. Kimberland Art, the Ice Scream Bones. I love this. This is adorable. Imagine a Witch Doctor themed attendant serving these ice scream bones, screaming scoops of ice cream served in a cone shaped like an arm bone. I also threw in a little
this would be
Florida's Miracle Trip amusement park as my cart.
Yeah, this would be just an instantly Instagrammable food item. Like, how we've got like the Dole Whips and all the elaborate things like that. But this, you've got like, it's like a turkey leg, almost looks like a bone leg. And then you've got the skull, printed into the ice cream. I think it'd be an instantly Instagrammable thing to, have. You wouldn't want to almost eat it because of it.
I feel like
it's always a trade. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, it's always a trade-off between food that looks good enough to take a picture of and food that tastes good. Because usually it kind of leans a bit too far to one. So it's like, great, I've taken my picture and it goes straight in the trash because it tastes like feet. But I think, where can you go wrong with caramel and ice cream?
But what's also great about this is because it's the skull and it's ice cream, as it melts, it starts to look more and more grotesque. And, it starts to look even worse in many ways, and it kind of builds into it.
Maybe this is one of those, like, those ice cream carts where you get, like, a Ninja Turtle or a SpongeBob Pop with, like, 2 gumballs as the eyes, and they're always disfigured. They never look right. I think that...
But here it's on purpose.
Yeah, here it's on purpose, right? So you get those skulls, and you just stick them...
It works to its advantage. It's brilliant.
The best part, it's $2. Look at that. Where else in Disney are you going to get $2 ice cream like that?
Adjusted for inflation. Next, we've got Jill, and we've got the Swizzle Picks with a bunch of different dining options, such as Raven Wings, Savory Beef, Dark Cherries, Apple Pecan. Is this a... These is like pastries and treats. I love this. This is really good. I love the idea of like the ivy and the this is a dark forest, but like not a lot of these have featured a lot of like it's been a lot of dead forest kind of stuff, but this is like a lively forest.
Yeah,
I like that. I like the
more like whimsical.
Yes.
Yeah.
This feels very.
I think it's also
Harry Potter-esque, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's quite interesting to have a juxtaposition because even though the brief was it's going to be in a haunted forest, it doesn't mean to say that you can't have like a little bit of light in that. I mean, you can have heroes in a villainous land, and to me, this sort of feels like a very heroic, princessy kind of cards. And
it's almost like Merida.
Yes,
in the cards.
Yes. Brave vibes. I don't know if Jill's got a background in anything, culinary related, but all the food on this, out of all the entries, sounded particularly delicious. Like I'd expect to see this on like a really fancy restaurant's menu because all the ingredients and all the combinations just sound really nice.
Yeah, I
love the names that people are coming up with here. Like, they're really inventive. The Swizzle Picks and things like that. Just combining 2 words which you wouldn't necessarily put together, but they're just really inventive names. I'm loving the names for a lot of this.
Rob, this might be a good time for you to just drop in that kind of idea of pausing if you really want to get some more information about because some of these are going to have a lot of information that we're not necessarily going to dive into.
Okay, absolutely. So basically, I wanted to not do anyone a disservice by leaving out any information that's included because some people went in so deep with maybe it was the backstory and we've got like a miniature short story that explains it or going into details about how the engineering works. But it's all been included in the video. But if we literally spoke about all of it or read it out, this would be a 6-hour-long video and no one would watch it. So if you are interested and want a closer look at all the entries, just feel free to hit pause on the video, read it, and then carry on.
And I think that maybe we could, when we drop this video, we'll also maybe include a link in the description for this slideshow for people to view and get a closer look and zoom in and take a peek at these entries. Yeah. Really nice way to present them. All right, up next we've got Tyler Bliss and the Hansel's Hazelnut Hot Chocolate. Ooh. That was a mouthful. I thought of a bright, multicolored cart made out of sweets that would be well juxtaposed in a haunted woods. Hansel and Gretel's treats are on display, but they are nowhere to be found. I'll let you decide their fate.
So this was actually one of my favourites, and I had two other favourites, but this is one of them. And the reason for it is because it kind of builds off that whole kind of gingerbread house vibe from like the Grand Floridian and, obviously on the gingerbread houses all around property and Disney property. But it's never really been done inside a Disney theme park or even Universal to this kind of standard or this kind of, degree of theming. And I think like Hansel and Gretel by itself is such an underrepresented or undervalued fairy tale, which you could get so much great entertainment out of, like the witch attendant there. That could be a great character to go along with this cart and have somebody else separately attending it, so you can buy the gingerbread and the sweets and things like that. I just think it's a great concept for something that hasn't been done yet.
I think it also brings up an interesting element of how it fits into its environment, because all these, for the most part, we're seeing the stand in isolation. But if you do have a very dark and somber environment, and the store is also kind of the same color tones or the same brightness, it could blend into the background a bit too much, whereas this has sort of anticipated the fact it's going to be in a really dark, foreboding wood and said, no, we want to stand out, so this is going to be really bright and colorful, and it is not going to be missed if you're walking past it. And
also,
the sort of
a cart like this with the colors, with the brightness, with the warmth in something so dark and scary is it offers a nice reprise for a guest who is, my big complaint about Halloween Horror Nights is sometimes they just want like a room, like rooms where they're not going to scare me and they want me to look around, like like make the floors like glow blue or something, so I know it's a safe zone.
That's what the Today Show cafe is for. You're meant to go in there, get some water, sit there in the brightly lit, laboratory that is the Today Show cafe.
Right.
Just need to do it Zach Morris timeout.
All right. Up next, we've got Logan Owens, a spooky popcorn stand with a little friend living under the warm boiler. This is actually one that I kind of enjoyed because of the design that has this like the little friend living under the boiler. It brings down some design elements to the ground for kids, and I like that this isn't necessarily super spooky. It's got a Halloween bucket on there, you know what I mean? Like it's fun and playful, but now there's this interactive kind of, like the popcorn, the crankers, like the the things on the top. Forget all those. Kids can't even see those. Put those down on the ground. So that's why I kind of like this.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of in Galaxy's Edge, if you go into the shop that sells the creatures, there are a few cages where if you go under and look up, you can see like movement or eyes looking down back at you. And just that sort of, I think that and the way it looks like nature's like overtaking the cart and reclaiming it, I think is a really good way to try and add like this very subtle layer of creepiness, like in a forest, just because, it's nature. You can't control nature.
Mother Nature, uncontrollable. Up next, we've got Venti Iced Michael. Welcome to the Melted Witch, where ice cream crawls and sprinkles aren't sprinkles. What does that mean?
Oh, this is so great. Yeah, I love the idea that it's, because I'm assuming it's like a Wizard of Oz reference where, they've maybe, killed a witch from, one of the directions that hasn't been taken yet, and they're now serving her as ice cream. I mean, that's a pretty novel premise for your snack.
It's a very novel premise. I would like that if it only served like green ice cream. That would be hilarious.
Okay. Yes.
Mint chocolate chip, matcha.
Mint chocolate chip.
It only did the greens.
Oh, Yeah, it should be served with like a little witch hat on top, so it just looks like a puddle.
Right.
Or just like one of the feet with the shoes sticking out.
Oh, you know what it is?
So-
They have cones in a dish there, but they scoop the ice cream into the cone, and then they turn the cone upside down into the dish, so that boom, now you've got like the melted.
Oh, you got the hat. Oh, I get you now. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Right.
can do raspberry ripple for the first witch's socks. See, I'm stealing this idea. You know, it's in the fine print, and I can take any of these that I like and sell them to someone else. So that's great.
It's like that Disney Plus tweet the other day.
All right, next up we have Julian. I don't know, that could be pronounced a couple different ways. Madame M's Malicious Mocktails. A small gypsy-style mocktail cart, shattered, overgrown, and eerily oozing out smoke and pulsing light.
I think this one is great. To me, this one looks so ancient. Like there's, a gypsy or a witch who's been in there and she's like 2,000 years old, because this thing is barely holding it together. It's got moss on top. It's got rugs. It looks so well lived in and aged. I think it's just a really cool design.
This is the burning.
And I love the touches of it being held together, like the planks holding it together shows that it's not just falling apart, but somebody's been trying to just keep it going as long as possible. And I could just imagine how beautiful this would be at night, just hearing the description of like the smoke coming out and the pulsing light from within. Like, oh, it'd be beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like the smoking settler's cabin of food carts.
Ooh, yes, definitely.
So I dig it. Up next, we've got Henry DeRocher, Granny's Goodies. Stop by for a treat. We all need to eat. It's his description.
This is terrifying, this one.
Yeah.
Because at first glance, you can just think, oh, it's, Granny at a stall, because the net and the cage are so dark against the background. There's a lot of questions being raised by what Granny's doing, what the food actually is, and where she gets it from.
Well, I think that if you run up to this cart at night, like the Granny's Goodies sign and like the canopy is going to illuminate the friendly looking front, but then as you get closer to it, you then get to see the cages littered around it, the nets, the chains. It's a really fun little spooky trip.
It's dark. This could be in like Horror Nights.
Yeah.
There could be a whole house about Granny.
Oh, absolutely. Next, we've got Holly and her incredible Snow White Scary Adventureland wood cart. She says it's also going to be found in the Fantasyland or Germany Epcot Pavilion. But it's a Snow White Scary Adventure cart with the poison apple pop and a sour apple slush. This is so charming and cute.
Those are great menu items. Although,
To be
just
honest,
to
I'm
note on
surprised.
here, it says haunted wood grain. I heard that's the most expensive wood grain out there.
You have to pay extra for the hauntedness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
How many
fake it.
coats of hauntedness has this wood grain got?
Oh, my
Yeah, I need to have my Corinthian leather and my haunted wood grain, or else I'm out.
Speaking of those,
Yeah. No, I think this is an idea that Disney could just, implement instantly. I mean, like they say in Fantasyland, that Holly's doing this Fantasyland, but this is something which I'm surprised didn't make it into the new Fantasyland offering in 2012 to 2014. When they did the whole Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train kind of idea, because it's an instant thing. Toffee apple flavor, that kind of thing. It's fantastic.
yeah, I could even
Fit right in, I think.
I could see this stuff fitting nicely into like the whole Gaston pub thing, or like with like the LeFou's brew. But this ice cream is very much that beach ice cream truck kind of force pushed designs that end up melting and looking even creepier than they're intended, which would just only work better for this ice cream. So I like this design a lot. Looks good. Up next, we've got Blogger Coaster and the Enchanted Potions of Maribel. Man, this is pretty. This is the
This
carriage
is so-
of Maribel, where we can taste the mysterious products of the haunted forest that are all the ancient Maribel and old retired witch will serve us.
I think I love all of Blogger Coaster's art, because he's constantly posting, theme park concepts, and all great. And this is terrific because the amount of detail Like if you go into that, it's like all these snacks that have all been well thought out that all look like something a witch would have in her cupboards. It's just amazingly.
This was one of my favorites because its design reminds me a lot of like a fruit stand in the city. And we've got a lot of these designs that are in a forest, and like rightfully so, they're kind of falling apart or they're very sparse. But this, like, I'd imagine Maribel here is like they are running a business. They have a bottom line to meet. Like, it's so busy and active that the fact that it's in like this forest is not stopping them from just making business happen.
It feels
which I love.
It feels like an RPG vendor. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is like I feel like this is almost a video game place where I would go and buy mana potions and moldy fruit would give me poison resistance, and witch's sand would increase my stamina. Whatever. It's I like this design a lot. It's really, really beautiful. All right, up next we've got Timber Twisted, the Hansel and Gretel Sweets cart, but it is a rewritten version where the witch doesn't die and instead runs a traveling food cart in the Black Forest. I left like, we're rewriting this so that the witch doesn't die so she can become an entrepreneur.
That's a redemption arc.
That's a redemption arc. I like this a lot. This is really cute. Gingerbread, waffle pieces, candy, mystery bubble drink served in a souvenir cauldron, and a possessed gingerbread man cookie. I would just like to reiterate that, again, there are no human remains in the beverages, and definitely not any human souls trapped inside the gingerbread man.
That's what I was like, what makes it possessed? I mean,
that is the line that got me.
It starts moving in front of
It's such like a sweet and wholesome. It kind of looks like Wreck-It Ralph. Like sweet and joyful and kid friendly. And then that final line about there's definitely not human souls inside the gingerbread men, and there's no human remains in the beverages. So it's a nice dark juxtaposition.
I would love if the witch put up a disclaimer somewhere on the cart that said something to that effect.
Absolutely. That would be really, really great. Up next, we've got Matt Bashford, the Illusion Infusion. Bubble tea served with a witch potion that guests can customize with choice of drink and topping. I like this. I like the idea of...
It looks like there's kind of like a Chinese kind of like architectural design to the top, almost. Mm-hmm. I may be wrong there, but it looks like it. And I just love the fact that this is so, it's being held up by sticks and it's just organic but mixed in with some kind of like ancient architecture. It's just fantastic.
I think the Chinese or sort of Japanese style roof lends itself to what's being served, tea.
It could be Japanese.
The fact that it's kind of like has this effect of floating that's such a cool idea, and this doesn't look like any other entry, so it's definitely unique.
Yeah, I really, really like this one. I love the floating idea. Up next, we've got Sam Flash with Baba Yaga's chicken legs. Man, Baba Yaga's popular this challenge.
Oh yeah.
So this is one of my favorites here because it just looks so unusual and unlike anything you've ever seen in a theme park. The chicken legs coming out of the actual hen house or this building here. It just looks so odd, and I can just imagine this thing like moving down the street to its position, a bit like in Beauty and the Beast when Belle's father gets chucked into the thing and then it starts moving about by itself. I just imagine it to be a bit like that and moving like that, and I just think it's a fantastic design and almost a little grotesque, like Chicken Run. Kind of like meets a food cart in many weird ways, but it's fantastic. I love it.
And tying the food into the theme. That's very smart as well.
And I could just imagine if you this is one of those ideas where you could plus it up so easily by just making a couple of the talons on the legs move every so often to just make it feel alive and just have it clicking every couple of seconds. Something for people who are in line to check out.
Yeah.
But do you see what I mean with the whole bells, the actual building that moves around? Yeah, it looks a little bit like that in many ways.
Yes, the enchanted stagecoach.
The stagecoach, actually.
Next, we've got Mach 92. So here's the roaming giant haunted forest. Here she is roaming in the giant haunted forest in her very tiny carriage. I imagine the little lady goes around selling candy or treats to the haunted souls that travel through this forest. Be careful, though, because her treats might send you on a hallucinogenic trip. You can't sell mushrooms at a theme park, bro.
Well, we didn't say where this theme park is. It could be in Amsterdam.
I do like the idea of a cart where like it moves through and then someone disembarks and like takes a chest off the back of the vehicle and opens it up, and that's what they sell their wares out of. I don't know how practical it is in effect, in practice at a park, but I like that idea. I like that idea that the goods are actually hidden inside the cart and have to be kind of unpacked.
Yeah,
and the character design is so unique as well, with like the tiny little person stuck inside I don't know what that is. It looks like a rock almost. But
I was getting like Studio Ghibli vibes, like one of these films that I just haven't got around to seeing yet. But I think it depends on the food, because I mean, if it's actual shrooms and hallucinogens, it doesn't really go with roller coasters. But if it just looks like this stuff, then
Or
that'd be great.
does it go with roller coasters? I don't know. Time will tell.
Watch this space.
Up next, we got El Mephisto. As you walk through the forest, you hear the sounds of bottles crackling together through the wind. You spot a particular cart in the distance. Thirsty, you pick up a refreshing potion the wizard offered you. I love this. I love this one. I think it is beautiful.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites as well. I mean, just the way it's been illustrated. So the shape of it is so unique, and it's got that wizard's hat, so that instantly communicates what's going on. All the bottles hanging down in at night, those could be glowing and be a light fixture as well as just props. And then just the overall color scheme of it is so beautiful. This is the one that I keep coming back to and just staring at it because it just makes me so happy.
Yeah. There's also like an opportunity there for merchandise, because you could sell the wizard's hat individually, separately somewhere else. Therefore, people almost be wearing and turning themselves into kind of like the stand-in.
Yeah, a little bit like a Disney on Ice, where you can go and get like a drink and like they sell like a souvenir and like a beverage to get like a hat, a crown, and a slushie or like that kind of. I love that idea.
I went to a Christmas thing in Tampa last year, and they actually had they had a light bulb. Like it was like shaped like a light bulb, and what they did is they had a little LED in the bottom, and they served like a sweet kind of like cider inside it, and it looked like a glowing light bulb. So they could do almost the kind of same thing here with this kind of like potion kind of bottle design. I think it's fantastic.
That's really cool idea. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a way to plus
and
it.
Also, this cart is very easily themed. If you need to like retheme it for Christmas time, you just throw a bunch of fake snow on that. Stick a couple pine trees in the top, and boom, you've got
change the colors up a little bit. Yeah,
very versatile kind of little cart. I really dig it a lot. All right, up next we've got Liam R. Finlay with the sinking drinks cart. I love the look of this. I really love how the little trick of how the cart moves and someone sits inside and it looks like it's sunk in the mud. I think it's really cute.
Yes, and I know Liam works for a company that provides theme parks with their aromas and scents, and I like that he's taken that into consideration. So it's got a chimney that's going to be pumping up really sweet smells to draw people in.
DM me, bro.
Well, that is such a critical part of all of these food stands. Is the smell. I mean, like the smellitizers within the Disney parks, we all know those smells. But that is such a critical part, and, it's fantastic that Liam's actually thought about this with this car, especially considering it's sinking into the mud. So you will want to have it smell good as well. I mean...
Yeah, I love this one. I think this is really clever. All right, up next we've got Maisie Dean with... Is there a title for this one? I mean, I have to read. A gypsy was passing through the forest when a wheel snapped on a rock. The same rock, however, caught the caravan and propped it up. Seemingly, seeing this as fate, she set up shop right there and has been here ever since. I think this is gorgeous. This is an Instagram kind of thing. A glowing rainbow tree. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's like created a whole little area around the cart, so it's not just that, and the tree with all the lights and eyes, and then even the food that's for sale is beautifully illustrated. I think this is such a well thought out concept.
This is like a little
cart that would be
Avatar. It's like a little mini Pandora.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the cart that would be twice as popular at night just because of how beautiful it would look.
I think that you could only operate it at night, right? Like, I mean, this is one of those carts that, like, one of those rare food stands that opens up as the park's closing instead of closing down at 6 o'clock. But I mean, obviously you got to keep it open all day. But I really love this. This is gorgeous. All right, and that rounds out that category. And up next we have psychics and carnivals. Rob, give us a lowdown.
Okay, so this was the next category because there were lots of entries which are around maybe fortune tellers, or they've got the look of a spooky fairground or a carnival. So yeah, that's what this category is.
Right, well, let's jump in with Jessica's first entry. The popcorn cart just happened to be passing through some haunted woods and got caught. I like this. It's not necessarily a haunted woods. It's that the haunted woods wanted popcorn, and so they just snagged a cart for themselves. I love that charming element of it. I was like, the woods, it's just helping you out, man. They just caught this popcorn cart so you can get some too.
Is this the haunted forest equivalent of getting like a boot on your car, where it's just like, oh, you parked this cart where you shouldn't have. We're gonna lock it down. But seriously, like, what I really like about this design is that the cart itself is very like traditional popcorn cart. It's what you'd see at like Disneyland, but by adding this addition of like the vines twisting through it, it takes something familiar to a lot of people and makes it just kind of a little eerie by introducing something they're very unfamiliar with.
And I'd probably push this even further to make it even more tradition. Maybe I was thinking have the popcorn cart up in the air or an angle so it looks like it's really been swept up by the vines.
Yes.
I think that would give an extra dimension of safe in this forest.
Suspended between the two trees in many ways, yeah.
Exactly.
Have a little vine from a root come in and have the root be the thing that's twisting that little popcorn.
Fantastic.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yes. Turning the actual popcorn. I love that idea. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful. All right, up next we've got Dan, Madame Sorbet's I Scream. I like this. I like the colors of this. I like something like this would pop in kind of like a dark, spooky area.
I think I could see this being an actual stand at Horror Nights because it has that kind of creepy look to it. Like there's a bit more backstory than it's letting on.
Yeah, but it also has that very simple, like very cost-effective design, aspect of it. It doesn't have a lot of the layered textures, but with some like spooky netting, some and some bright colors that would really pop in the dark. It would really have a lot of appeal as you're going through one of those scare zones, but needed some ice cream.
Exactly, and this could actually
love a good pun as well. I mean, yeah, it's just a nice pun.
Love a good pun, man. Love a good pun. All right, up next we got Carly Stroughton with the Fairyground Franks. Hot dogs on the grill and candy floss from the organ pipes. Sponsored by my time working grills, knowing that you can't kill anyone with undercooked hot dogs. Hooray! The monkey taking care of your contactless payment has his eyes on you. I like that element of it a lot.
That's going to be great for kids, isn't it? Like having an animatronic monkey and then the whole stall designed kind of like a organ. It's really clever.
And are we not going to mention the cat's tail or whatever kind of tail that is?
Yeah, we're gonna
the cast member would have to wear. Let's all just ignore that.
let it be. It's down to
its own thing.
All right, up next we got Disney Adventures. This is the Professor Phineas Pock's Miracle Elixir Cart. Every Madame and Mr. chooses Pock's Elixir. I love that little phrase they have for it. I like this. I think this is really fun.
It's kind of giving me like Wizard of Oz, Professor Marvel's wagon meets kind of like a street car, and it's kind of very steampunky. So I think if they ever built was Discovery Bay, I mean, this would fit right into that.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yep.
It's a good callback to the what is it? The snake oil salesman of yesteryear.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is one of those things where Galaxy's Edge was kind of using those like rethemed names for like beverages, like it was called Space Juice, but it was just Powerade. Like this is one of those things where it's fun to retheme some beverages, you know what I mean, and give them fun, cups and I dig it.
I love the menu at Oga's Canteen. It just said Space Juice, but it's Powerade. Like, that's its actual name. Space Juice, but it's
With
Powerade.
a cookie on top.
All right. Up next, we've got John Lynch with his refreshment cart, Madame Mysteria's Weird Wagon. Refreshment options are mostly Halloween variants of classic Disney treats like churro, Dole Whips, and candy apples. This is great. I love the little. I love the condiment stand with the crystal ball. That makes me happy.
If you added a screen into that crystal ball, and I just love interactivity with guests in general, and even though it's probably not reasonable from a budget standpoint, I just always want somebody interacting with guests. So if you could throw a screen in that crystal ball where you have somebody like push style, the talking trash can, just interacting with people who are getting their condiments, that would be amazing.
Yeah, the screen pops up.
Exactly.
It's like bubble, bubble, toil and wretchup. Looks like you're choosing a little bit of ketchup.
Did you say retro?
No, I said retchup. Yep. I could.
Okay,
listen,
just
man,
checking.
How are you supposed to write ketchup on the fly? All right, I'm not a freestyle rapper. I'm just a simple.
You're not a freestyle rapper, Pam. I'm pretty sure you.
Otherwise,
I do.
and this one has cocktail cards, and I think so. You redeem after you buy a couple of drinks and you get something free. I think Trader Sam's need a policy like that, where one of every cocktail you get free something.
Yeah, you bring in 3 black pearls and you get to drink free for the night. I think that'd be fair. Courtney up next has Fortuna's Formulation. Owned by Madame Fortuna, a mysterious traveler who found herself lost in the woods and still, despite her all-seeing eye, can't find her way out. I love the beverage cup for this. I think it is really...
And the boba balls are fantastic.
Like, Courtney's art makes me so happy, and I think this one is such a beautiful piece because there isn't a straight line in it. Everything's sort of curvy and whimsical, and every single element, even if it's just, what's holding the wheels up and the suspension, is all curves and swirls, and it gives it kind of that magical rolly crump, witchy haunted mansion look.
Museum of a weird kind of aspect to it, isn't it?
Exactly.
With the eyes and things.
Now,
Yeah.
what I would love
So
the cast member actually fit inside the crystal ball in the cart so that their head is just like...
Oh, and the head pops up. Yeah, I love
the head's always just floating
I see
there,
what you-
taking your order. And there's some other cast member behind the cart actually getting the work done. But
that's a rough shift. If you pull
Yeah, I
that
know. Florida summer.
in the Florida sun cooking.
Why is the head of the
Also,
crystal
the fact
ball
that
sweating
Courtney's
so
stored the
much?
souvenir cup.
That's the 5th cast member we've lost this week.
listen, I didn't say it was a good idea, but I said it was a fun idea.
I can see this being one where it really engages your senses because, I love the idea that the drink is dispensed at the end, almost as if, if you're going to get the slushy. I just picture when you order a slushy, the whole cart's kind of shaking and making noise, and you hear that this whole process is going on, and then, out of that little metallic nozzle at the end, you finally get your drink, almost like a very Willy Wonka-esque process.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, up next we have a meal with Madame Yeo's soothsaying snacks and tarot reading treats. I don't know. I think this might be pandering a little bit, Rob.
This is my favorite for some reason.
Are you going to change your Twitter handle to Madame Yeo?
That's my drag name.
Yes. Shantae, you stay. I love this. Yeah. I love the colors of this. I think it's a really beautiful, just bright, bright spot in an otherwise dark, spooky forest.
It's just an absolutely beautiful piece of art. I mean, everything the mill does is fantastic, but this in particular, there's so much detail and color to it. It's just a beautiful painting.
And I really like the sense of scale with it too. With a lot of these carts, you have very small, very personal carts, but this looks like the biggest cart so far we've seen, which I think from a theme park perspective is pretty practical, and just very unique.
And if you zoom in closely, it almost looks like Morticia Adams they're ordering with a pair of Mickey ears on. So that's adorable. All
Could
right.
be.
Up next, we got the next category. Rob, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. This is a really fun category, actually. I've just called it Monster Hunters, Trucks, and Lumberjacks. So these kind of all have a very vehicular bent to it. It's a bit more modern than some of the other ones, which are a bit more gothic. And there's some really fun characters and concepts in this category.
This category sounds like a comedy horror spoof they made in the 90s. Monster Hunters, Trucks, and Lumberjacks.
See, I was thinking more like Guy Fieri's next series.
Oh, you know what? I love that too. I'm here for it. All right.
Watch that.
Up first, we have Sarah with The Last Resort. If you hear whispers in the trees, if you hear the whispers of the trees, you'll be guided here for a treat. The choice is yours, but it comes at a price. The last resort is a deadly vice. I like this one a lot. I like the trees with the eyes, keeping an eye on what you're picking.
I mean, this is pretty heavy. I mean, you just going in for a snack and you're going to be cursed for all eternity by being cynical, by dying alone, selling your soul. I mean, usually that's just reserved for getting an annual pass, let alone a snack. So, I mean,
I also like if these
it's heavy.
Can be a little bit judgmental if you pick an unhealthy snack and they kind of approve of you if you pick one of the healthier snacks. I like.
Or if you want to drive revenue, if you don't pick enough snacks.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Oh, great. All right, up next we have Molly and her cart. I can't read the name of it from that. Jack Snacks.
Jack Snacks.
There we go. Jack Snacks. I dig it. Jack wanted to take a crack at the snack business, but he didn't want any competition. He set up his cart in the haunted forest to serve the travelers and passersby. However, this was no easy task. Jack, as daily, has to chop the forest roots from trying to claim his cart and the bottles from the local haunts to make his famous ghost's breath. I dig it. I love that. I love the story element of he has to fight the woods from stealing his cart.
Yes, exactly. And I think special attention to the menu that's been come up with because it's so creative.
Yeah.
You've got the Ghost Breath, which is green cotton candy and it tastes like apples. Haunted Tree Bark, which is chocolate covered pretzels. Then Steamed Bog Brew, which is cider in a cup. I think it's all very cohesive because it's very easy to have a store that looks fantastic and you do hot dogs and it kind of doesn't go together. But this one, like every element is really cohesive and tells the story.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really, really fun. Up next, we have Monsoon Matt with Big Abe's Monster Hunting and Country Cooking. Van Helsing's name is synonymous with protecting innocents from what goes bump in the night. Over the generations, the family has grown and relocated, settling down across the globe to apparently sell treats. I adore it. I love this. This feels very horror movie. You know what I mean? Like
the best backstory. It is like the Dino Land USA style backstory of just like being the famous monster hunters, and now just the legacy is like, well, yeah, we just kind of operate out of this trailer back here, and just a very mundane job out of it all. Like, this is my favorite backstory, I think, out of all of them so far. It's just so creative.
It's just such a great thing. It's like that. The elevator pitch, you could just say that one sentence and you've instantly got it, which is the sign of a really good story. I think the only thing I'd add is, get the Van Helsing name in the name of the cart so people can pick up on that just by looking. So, I mean, if it was like, Van Helsing, it's got so many dark connotations, but if his name was like Dave Van Helsing, and it's like, wow, this is where the family's got to nowadays, I think that would really help hammer it home.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, up next we have Andy Martin with the Trick or Tree. I think this is Trick or Treat. There is no way of predicting the culinary intentions of this cursed oak. Will it bestow a delicious treat, or will it bring upon something foul like a rotten egg-flavored lollipop? So this is like a half game, half food cart, is what we're kind of getting at here.
This entertainment, I was thinking like Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans. Like, with a couple of tweaks, this could fit into the Wizarding world perfectly. Another, like, test your bravery thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, can you imagine the guest complaints when they get the rotten egg-flavored lollipops?
Poor City Hall.
For a low price, they could try again.
But what I think what you do is you make those, like, 1 out of every 100. So they become super rare, and the community wants them. You know what I mean? Because then it's like, oh, they never get opened, like it's always, but people, But I love the design of this. I love the tree like strapped down to the back of a truck. I think it's really, really fun.
I was gonna say, you know what I would love to see added to this? If you added some sort of way so that every couple of those tree branches like jerked as if the tree was trying to test. Because like I just love the idea that it's chained down so heavily. It kind of implies that it's not so much just the practicality of keeping the tree on the truck, but it's like holding the tree down from breaking loose. So if every so often like you just saw a branch try and test it, I think that would be like a cool little atmospheric plus there.
Yes, yeah, definitely. That's a great idea. He's kind of struggling on the back of the truck.
All right, up next we got Christopher Erb with the diner truck. Deep in the Appalachian woodlands, this mobile diner surveillance camper serves the brave and daring cryptid hunters wherever the trail may lead them. This is fun. This is like the Ghost Hunters truck food van. Like if Ghost Hunters had like a warehouse somewhere, this is the food truck that'd be out in the parking lot feeding them on lunch break. I dig it.
This entry makes me very angry because if you pause it and read all the dishes, they all sound like something I'd eat all of that in a heartbeat. It's delicious. But then the design itself is, I love the sort of theme design thing where you're smushing different parts together. So you've got your RV, you've got like the classic 50s diner neon sign, and then you've got all these bits of technology, and it really sells this concept that's cobbled together. It's probably not got the, best funding, but they're out in the woods trying to find, the Bigfoot or ghost and things like that.
Yep, I love it. All right, up next we have Casey Daniels with the... Oh, I can't read it. It's too small. Wadsworth P. Cutter Lodging Enterprises cart with forest lumber, pretzel logs, spirit dust, liquid nitrogen flavored popcorn, hand pie baked with seasonal fruit, and Woodworth's Mist, a liquid nitrogen infused soda with blueberry and raspberry.
So this is one where we put the whole backstory on the next page because there's a lot of it. But there's a theme in some of these entries about it's kind of like an anti-capitalist saga about, you've got this magical place and then the capitalist comes in and he's interfering with nature and then he gets his punishment, which is usually death. Fair enough. But this cart is so cool because it's this tycoon and there's a link to the SCA where he was being recommended for membership by Harrison Hightower, which is very cool. But this would have been like his personal tree chopping / accommodation machine. And he's been killed off by the forest. And now these sprites have taken over. It's just such a cool little backstory.
And something about the menu just clicks really well with this like very lumber based design, and not just the fact that they're like pretzel logs, but it's like more of a bready snack, and you've got just the pies. It's just something about that menu clicks really well with it.
It all makes sense.
Also, Jack, have you ever done any of those like liquid nitrogen like dragon breath like treats? Where they like super freeze like cereal, and then when you put one in your mouth, you can like breathe like a dragon.
I've never done one of those, but I wanted to do the Epcot, the potion lab thing that they had in the Interventions building. Never got down to doing it because I was never there during the festival time when it was actually on. But and then they ripped down Interventions West, and now I can't ever do it. So I wish.
You don't sound bitter at all.
No, I'm not bitter at all.
All right, next up we have Ray.
I wish I could have.
Raycom's Big Frank's Vegan Wiener Mobile. This has to be one of my favorites.
Oh, me too. This is one of the awards. Okay, this is the three hands down from all the details. So the premise is great. It's Frankenstein is now a reformed vegan and a hipster, and so of course he's got a food truck with his girlfriend who looks like Audrey Plaza with Jack Skellington tattoos. But yeah. All the details. He's got vinyl to sell. Is playing music from a band that's too cool that you've ever heard of. It's covered in stickers. He's got his fixie bike on the back. This is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we have award-winning wieners in Disney's California Adventure. This is like this. If this was in one of the parks, this would cap my favorite. This would be above and beyond award wieners. This is so much fun. What were you going to say, Jack?
I was going to say it's almost like this person's got a real issue of hipsters. I mean, almost hate crime territory towards hipsters here. You know, having got the bike, having a go at the little earring and the look with the glasses and the beard, and you know, it's fantastic design, but I love it. And I love the little antenna on top as well, like the weird little ball on top. That's fantastic little design touch.
I think that this is the kind of thing that a hipster would enjoy and fun at a bit, you know, with this.
And it's an old ice cream truck as well. It's a retrofitted ice cream truck by the looks of things. You know, it's fantastic.
I love hipster monsters. That's so funny. All right, next we've got Tall Tales. Rob, tell us what this category is about.
Okay, so this category is kind of for everything else, all the entries that kind of elude a regular category, because they took the brief and ran in a completely different direction, which is fantastic. So this was just to try and group those together that are not miscellaneous.
Perfect. All right, up first, we've got Lisa here with the Runaway food cart. Do you know the Runaway Company located in the Haunted Forest, ready to help you in exchange for a good wage?
So I believe that the premise of this one is, you know, because haunted forests are usually inhabited by scared princesses who are running away from various things. So, of course, it makes sense from an economical point of view to have a company set up to help them, because there's just, you know, bells and Snow Whites as far as the eye can see. But when I was talking to Lisa on Twitter about this, she gave me the impression that maybe this company is not the most philanthropic, and maybe they're taking advantages of people in distress with too much money on their hands. But yeah, it's such a cool design with all the luggage there.
So what you're saying is if the night bus was publicly traded, this is what we would get.
If it was a corporation, it would absolutely look like this.
Oh, she has a little bit of backstory here that you can pause and take a closer look at, that Rob just kind of clued us in on. Up next, we've got Connell and the Radiation Response Unit 12. Ooh, I like that.
Wow. This is, I don't know if you can read the backstory, but basically there's been some kind of biohazard radioactive meltdown. They sent in response vehicles. The response vehicles never heard from them again. And when they found them, they've got claw marks they've been torn into. And now they're being used as sort of mobile places to feed first responders. But this was so far removed from all the other ones, which are very fairy tale. I mean, because this is like a real ambulance, and it just, the look of it is just like an absolute horror story has taken place. It's so cool.
Who doesn't want to eat radioactive food? I mean, you know, radioactive food from an ambulance. I mean,
yeah,
it's an extremely unique design.
Who doesn't want to
concept
eat zombie food from an infected ambulance? 100%.
Yeah. It's definitely scary. It definitely works out from that kind of aspect.
So,
I love it.
I can see this being at the like Halloween Horror Nights, and I just love that the window. It looks like it. You know, it wasn't like the window was cut out of the vehicle like as a plan. It looked like something happened in this ambulance that just ripped off a big chunk of wall.
Like a dinosaur bite.
Yeah,
it's like
I dig it.
So weird.
Zombie dinosaur bite.
So good.
All right, up next we have Santiago Torres with the Manticore's Perilous Provisions. Inspired by the adventures of the Lightfoot brothers, Corey decides to expand his services to offer more mobile solutions for weary quest heroes on their perilous paths. This is fun. I like it. I dig the the rocker 80s, like, you know, skull, tailgate, that kind of stuff. I think it's cute.
Yeah, and it makes sense to tie it into an IP. Because, I mean, that's the practicality of the themed entertainment industry at the moment, that most things that are getting greenlit is because it's supporting the movie, it's supporting merchandise and reinforcing the characters. So that's a very smart choice. And then basing it on Onwards is just, really clever.
Awesome. Up next, we got Jamie with Shatka's Beverages. Shatka's preparing the brews in the forest for the delight of thirsty visitors.
Okay, so just to give you the TLDR on this one, if I remember correctly, this is a cart that's being pulled by this creature called Niwa, who's part pony, part goat, I think. But that would be an animatronic, so this whole cart is being pulled by that, which is fantastic. It reminds me of Lucky the Dinosaur and that kind of initiative they're putting through. And then you've also got a cast member sort of playing the character of this gnome or dwarf called Shatka, who is dispensing the beverages from this machine. But it's just really clever and a cool idea to make it feel real, like high fantasy.
I would have loved to see that dinosaur animatronic that they used in Animal Kingdom actually have like a vendor cart. Like that would have been something. Combining something like that would have been really, really fun to see.
It advertises itself at that point,
Sure.
which is amazing. Like, right?
Yeah, it's an attraction as well.
All right, up next we have Rihanna Evans with the fairy floss, the fairy hunter vendor that makes money catching fairies in the forest, trapping them so they can turn into fairy dust and selling their strengths to wandering travelers. This is a really cute concept. I like this one a lot.
There's tons of interactivity with this one where you choose the flavor, you get this dust, you pour it into the stump, and then it gets turned into cotton candy with, one of the properties, like you're getting improved senses, courage, psychic ability, more energy.
I like this. Yeah.
I think there's great levels of story and interactivity in this one.
But it's an experience all to itself. It's something that people want to go do just because you'll be able to make your own. You're reviving a fairy, as it says there. I love the idea of it. It's an experience.
Yeah.
By around 5 o'clock, the bubblegum energy restoration gets real popular with the parents out there.
Well, I would almost like to see this more the opposite way, where it's like a Jamba Juice, where you can get like those like shots of like your protein, your B5s, your whatever. You can pick from a menu of stuff, and so that they have the cotton candy as like the sweetener, but then ultimately you then mix it into a beverage that then has, so that like those improved senses, it would actually be some useful things like, well, I don't, Lord only knows if Jamba Juice actually, if those B12 vitamins that you mix into your tropical smoothie actually do anything for you. But I dig it so much. All right, up next we have Emily and the bubbling elixir cart, an Atlantean's favorite treat. Ooh, welcome to the world of Atlantis. I like this. I like the underwater theme of this one.
Yeah, finally in a theme park after 20-something years. I mean, yeah, I've been waiting for some Atlantis representation, and I think this is a really cool idea where the cartwheel is glowing the same as the drinks to sort of link them together, and like they've got the same energy flowing through them. And yeah, like you said, taking it in a different direction, so it's still in a haunted forest, but
you didn't necessarily say it couldn't be a haunted, like, seaweed forest.
Absolutely.
Under waterfall.
This is what I love, when you take one brief and then you interpret it in a way that I never would have imagined myself. It's really clever.
Yeah, I really dig it. Up next, we have Christopher Tillon, the King's Public Reserve Wild Berry Cider Stand. Anything cider related, you've got my attention.
This is another one where I really love the backstory because, there's that whole write-up there, and you could read it, and it's a great backstory. But you also kind of you get enough of the backstory through the design itself, just by having the sign where it scratches out private and writes public, and it's the King's Reserve, and that's all the detail you need to start piecing together what must have happened for this to end up the way it is. And I think that kind of storytelling is just so clever.
Exactly. You don't need to give everyone all the details, because otherwise you have to hire someone to just read out the entire backstory, which doesn't work. But yeah, if you can condense your entire premise into one piece of graphic design, that's really clever. That's all you need, and you'll figure out the rest in your head after you've read it with your imagination. And so that's a really clever one.
It's a little bit like Mission Breakout sign. It's a little bit like, how it is. Yeah. Collector's Fortress and Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout.
Awesome. All right, up next we have Kelsey Connolly and Doc Jones Concoctions. Meet Doc Jones. He was a millionaire snake oil salesman whose life changed after one sale. He was traveling through the forest the next town when he ran into a woman. She asked him about a youth elixir advertised on his wagon. He happily sold it to her, fully aware it would not change her appearance at all. When the woman realized she was tricked, she revealed her true form and cursed him. I think this is really fun. I like the wheels. I like the snake wheels.
So is the curse now that he has to work within a theme park? Or, I don't know. You're cursed to work a food stand at a theme park.
Because the person playing the salesman can sort of create a character and interpret it in different ways. So that's going to be, great. And I'm sure, like Street and Spirit, people are going to have their favorites.
So each time you can change. Yeah, I like that. I like how you can change it up each time. It's good.
I dig it. All right, up next we have at Bobsy626 with Oy's Forest Delights. I like this. I like when you give me like a portable condiment, like an add-on condiment stand or like an add-on little like side stand. I love those little design elements that are included here.
Yes, this is great. It's I believe themed to ogre who owns the cart, so it all looks like it's been cobbled together by materials he would have found himself. And there's a sign that says, "Please tell Oy a fact," and he's just sat there waiting to hear facts. So that'll be great with kids. And also, just from a vanity point of view, it doesn't escape my attention that Oy is an anagram of Yo. So this one's just the automatic winner of everything.
Man, some of these artists
It could have been a coincidence.
Man, flattery will get you everywhere.
Okay, up next, this is going to be interesting. A Hal Edwards creative. This is a Galaxy's. It looks like we got a little bit of a Star Wars theme to Haunted Forest here with
a little bit.
Is it Papalou's outpost? After fighting in the Battle of Endor, Papalo has packed up his cart and moved to Batu, hidden in the forest of the Resistance base. He feels at home. He just hopes those noises are wildlife and not what C-3PO told him lives in the caves of Dagobah. This is really
great.
fun.
Yeah. Of all the IPs I would have expected tied to like a cart in the forest, assumedly haunted forest, Star Wars was not one of them. So
I don't know, you could do a haunted cart within the forest moon of Endor. I mean, you could some haunted Ewoks, something like that.
Yeah. So many possibilities, and it just astounds me the amount of imagination that people would be able to take to this. And I love the helmets of all the vanquished Empire soldiers.
Very spooky.
Even Darth Vader.
Next, we have Leon Ermer with his Onward-inspired ice cream truck. This is really cute.
Oh, this is great.
And I could see this actually in like Hollywood Studios. I could see this in like California Adventure, on Pixar Pier. This is something that I could actually see in the parks. This is really, really beautiful.
Like the Ice Queen, Dairy Queen. I love the kind of like the idea behind that, and the little turrets and the things on top. That's fantastic. It's great.
The fantastical flavors of the Unicone and the Nom Nom Nom.
Nom Nom Gnome.
So well designed.
It's great. And it's a great design. It's beautiful.
It's very true to the production design of Onward, in that a lot of the things in that film will be stuff we recognize from our world, but given a slight fantasy twist. And that's perfectly exemplified in this, because it does look like an ordinary ice cream cart, but then you've got, the parapets, and you've got the awning, and it all gives it that sort of twist that makes it fit in.
The window. Yeah, the window.
Yes.
Yeah, and like candles. It looks like candles for the headlights or something. I don't know. It looks.
It's like it's almost like this was just like a piece of concept art that was just left on the table for the actual film. That's how
It's beautifully designed as well.
Yeah. It's really, really nice. All right, up next.
Yeah, well done, Leo.
We got Reg with a snack cart. Steampunk snack cart. A Victorian haunted forest themed area with the snacks I'd have it sell. The food wrappers would have a newsprint pattern on them. The potato lamp is just a gag.
These illustrations are fantastic. Is anyone else getting hungry looking at these? Because this is like the best of British cuisine right there.
I'm not a massive fan of British cuisine, to be honest.
What's wrong with
you and me both being from Britain?
That had to be a rough
I love the design of the cart. It's fantastic.
Fried oysters with chips actually sounds delicious. I would definitely jump on that.
Fish and chips butty. Yeah.
I really just like how the cart itself has this, like, if you break down each part and look at it, you've got obviously the blimp kind of inspiration in the back, and then in the center it looks more like those old jalopies, and then even the front, for as small as it is, kind of is just so reminiscent of like a locomotive, and the idea that it blends all three is just great.
Looks so Jules Verne-esque, it looks so, it's brilliant with the leather and then the quilted, bulk base to it. I don't know what you call that main part, the compartment there.
This out of all the old the dream catchers laying around.
I was about to say, it looks like the Dreamfinder. Yeah, it looks like that.
Yeah, this would go really well into Discoveryland in Paris, I think, because it's got that sort of Victorian punk look.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Right alongside the Hyperion. Yeah.
All right, up next we have Shelby Denham with this fish cart. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I love all of the fish eyes all over the place.
Now we've got to come back to the idea of smell. Yeah, I think because these food carts need to smell good to get people to buy.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm hoping they have a good twist on this. Shelby has.
No, I think I always love Shelby's art, and this was so great. It's kind of that Lovecraftian something has gone horribly wrong. I'm not sure how appetizing it would be for a food and drink stall, but I mean, you could play the angle of it.
You've got to do like fish and chips or like squid ink ice cream. You got to do something.
Squid ink ice cream. Dan, what did you say?
That's a thing.
Yeah, 100%.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it makes your mouth all black and terrifying.
I've never heard of that.
See, that's the direction I think it would have to go in. I think it'd have to go in like a novelty sweet, because I think if you go in the fish and chip direction, that's when the visuals might actually be off-putting. But if you go so far in the other direction, it might loop back around to where it's like you don't make the association because it's like you're getting candy or ice cream or something like that.
And it doesn't have a smell to it.
Like a bubbly green like cocktail with like Swedish fish in it and stuff like that. Like something fun and wacky. But I dig it. I think this is a beautiful piece for sure. All right, up next we've got Martin Vander Whedon. Oh man, Martin, I can't pronounce. I think I got it. Martin Vander Whedon. I think that. You know what?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Sweetly Hollow. I desired an old travel wagon left abandoned in the misty, haunted Sleepy Hollow woodlands. Its owners have surely fallen victim to the infamous Hessian the Headless Horseman. This is gorgeous. This is a gorgeous piece of art.
Yeah, it's just absolutely stunning, this piece of art. I mean, this looks like Phantom Manor concept art. It's just, can't stop looking at it. It's terrific.
There's some designs here that are so beautifully put together where it's almost like I don't want guests to go near it because its solitude is what sells the atmosphere so well. It's like I wouldn't want to see a line coming out of this because it looks so immersive.
This actually is something I could see them like putting into a corner of like the Hagrid coaster. You know what I mean? To like give kind of like that vibe of like, oh yeah, here's a little corner of the forest that has this little food cart surrounded by, kind of like the queue. Like some of these would make excellent queue like food, like those mid queue food carts that you could open seasonally, kind of thing. Like this would be perfect in like the Hagrid's queue. I think it's for sure a beautiful little design. All right, up next we have Mark and Andrew, the fallen head of canola. Is that it? Canola.
I think it's cannelloa, not the oil.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Canola works too, I guess, but no, cannelloa works. The haunted Hawaiian palm forest amidst the wailing skulls and stench of death. Ooh. The wheel at the back doubles as both transport and day and night menus. Oh, wow.
This is another really clever way of interpreting the brief because I never said it couldn't be a Hawaiian forest. So now we've got tiki in the mix, which I always love. And then this is just so unique looking because it's a cart, but it looks nothing like a cart. It's a giant tiki head with this rolling wheel that's transport and also has the menus. And you can have a day menu and a night menu. I mean, this is so out there. It's fantastic.
It makes me think
what's the color wheel behind? Is that
that's the menu?
That's the menu.
The menu wheel that also.
That's the menu. So the menu kind of spins then, does it?
Yeah, with the cart.
Yes.
It's very much like
awesome.
the celebration, the Millennium Celebration at Epcot. That big drum parade float that they would play, and the drum wheel would move as the parade float moved. I love it. I think.
Yeah. The Whaler.
All right. Up next we have Nicole and her mystery snack. Oh, this is a. What? I completely blanking on the name of the cartoon.
Gravity Falls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
This is really. What if Grunkle Stan opened a food cart in Gravity Falls? Imagine something close to this, featuring foods inspired by the show. I love the Grunkle Stan sipper. I think that is hilarious.
Yep.
All the details are spot on for this one because I love that thing of what if X started an X? What if Goofy had a roller coaster? What if Mickey had, a restaurant? What if Gravity Falls, if Grunkle Stan had a food cart? It would look exactly like this. This is obviously a huge fan of the show because you have to love something to be able to interpret it, and be true to the source material like this.
I also love the mystery dog. How these corn dogs got their shape is a real mystery.
Not the mystery of what they're made of, just the shape.
I'd imagine you just have
That's
to
a separate
use
mystery.
like a hooked stick, right? If you got a long enough dog, I bet this is actually something you could make, like in real life.
Yeah, probably good.
I have to work on that. If anyone knows how to make hot dogs, then try it.
Dogs. All right, up next we got Star Shop 7.5s, and they're
Okay. So
all right. What is they have a menu? What are the two words that were all crossed out that makes the menu? He has this very, very clever. You can pause the video now and take a close look at all of their different drinks. In Lost Tomorrowland, a time drifter named Cora forged a small cart from old technology to sell food and drink from her time. She set up shop in the obsolete solar palm tree forest where rusting robots wander aimlessly and power surges cause odd occurrences. I want this.
Okay.
Let's just retheme Tomorrowland right now.
Okay, I was geeking out so hard when I saw this entry because if anyone knows me, they know that I love the 1994 version of Tomorrowland, and this has so many Easter eggs tying back to that. I mean, you've got Sir from Inter holding food. You've got the Old People Mover sign has been repurposed as the menu board. Mm-hmm. You have, the palm trees they have in Tomorrowland, which are supposed to be solar collectors. They're supposed to be collecting energy in these metal coconuts, and those are on the menu. And then the menu itself is just more Easter eggs. The jelly donut reference to Stitch's Great Escape. You've got the extra terrorific barber skewer. So that's apparently the alien from Alien Encounter being served up. The Dream Flight.
I was going to say probably the only reference to Delta's Dream Flight ever.
My mind was just blown by this. I absolutely adore it.
This is really, really fun. I like this one a lot. All right, up next we have Miranda Kittendorf. All in time, all things become part of the forest. A traveling merchant once came upon a pristine apple grove deep in the dark, mysterious wood. It had long been abandoned, as the local people knew better than to step foot in the forest. From the branches of the trees came perfect apples, which the merchant would turn into golden cider. Each time the merchant returned, he would plant new seeds and expand the orchard. But the forest does not take kindly to change. This is gorgeous. This is beautiful.
Kind of a dark take on Johnny Appleseed, where, like those other entries which were kind of about, these arrogant capitalists getting what they deserve. So it's someone taking advantage of the forest, making the cider, and then the forest killing him for it. But yeah, I love the kind of house cottage shape to it with the barrels. They're brewing something, and then the mushrooms. So it's kind of being reclaimed by the forest.
Verboten cider. That's a perfect.
There were just so many talented artists during this whole thing. The concept art, how they're beautifully done with just the colours and the background and everything that make the art pop in the forefront. It's just amazing how much talent there is out there for theme park design. It's my hat goes off to all of them, basically.
Agreed.
All right, up next we have Teague Peak. Is it Teague? Is that?
I think it's Teague. Yeah.
Peak. TC Peak.
This is
Druid's drumsticks. Holy smokes, this is gorgeous.
This is a ridiculous amount of artistic talent here, because this looks like it could be from an actual cartoon or a video game concept art, things like that. And all the details are so clever and druidy in this. Like, nothing's been overlooked. It's all feeding into this overall theme of, a druid food cart.
I was going to say, I had written notes, and my note for this was this looks like something that could be in World of Warcraft. And I mean that in the best way possible, because it's that slightly exaggerated, cartoony rendition of something that would have otherwise been more grounded and gritty. And that makes it more fanciful. And I love it.
And it's so tactile. What every single material is on this, from the fabric to the stone, to the bone, to the wood. It's all just really well done.
Yep.
Yeah, I dig it. All right, up next we have Lee Gaynor with the street popcorn but it's inspired by Dia de los Muertos. I love this. This is beautiful. Oh, there's a whole slide here with some information on it.
Yeah, she did such a good job on this, because who would have thought about merging these two things, Dia de los Muertos and the food cart? Which one would be really, really Instagrammable, which is so important nowadays? Because on the side you have one of the sugar skull designs. You can get a popcorn bucket in the shape of a sugar skull, and then you've got those floral patterns on lanyards, and you've got it on the popcorn bags. So every element is, you'd want to take a picture of this for your Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like this one a lot. All right, up next we have Jacques, and he has this great Wizard of Oz inspired card. As you turn a bend in the haunted forest, hungry for a bite, you come across an abandoned carriage from Emerald City. But the flying monkeys have found it first, reclaiming it for their own to create strange concoctions for those daring to travel through the woods. So what we're getting at here is the Wicked Witch enchanted a bunch of monkeys to fly, and a few of them were chefs. So
the entrepreneurs.
Yeah, a few of those
entrepreneurial monkeys.
And this is a really, really beautiful little design. And now that Rob's seen Wizard of Oz, he can understand it.
Yes. Apparently that's what spurred him on to finish, because he had this idea for a Wizard of Oz food cart, left it, saw that I was talking about seeing it for the first time, and that coincidence spurred him to finish it. And I'm glad he did, because the artwork for it is so beautiful. This is another one that I can't take my eyes off of. I love the concept, because there's always that dichotomy between inside the Emerald City, where everything's perfect and ornate and regal, and then kind of the spooky wild outside with the flying monkeys, and smushing them together so you've got like all the signs painted in what I hope is red paint, not blood, because it's saying they're selling food. And I like that theme park license. So it was like, why wouldn't the monkeys be serving food and have access to ovens and things like that? It's that kind of suspension of disbelief that makes so much stuff work.
All right, perfect.
And it's on a yellow brick road and everything. You got Dorothy in there. It's just an amazing piece of artwork. Yeah,
it's kind of a shame that we never really got a good Wizard of Oz themed attraction, because this would be perfect for. Something like this would be perfect for like a little Wizard of Oz themed land for sure. All right, up next we have Gnarly Nature, Rob.
Yes, so this category is all about entries that are centering about nature taking over. So it could be animals, it could be plants, it could be monstrous pumpkins. There's so many like cool ones that are themed to nature, so wanted to celebrate all of those together.
All right.
Okay.
This is from Ghost Host Kyle 99. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Grab a snack if you dare. So this is just a terrifying angry wolf on a cart that just scare people away.
It's
perfect.
So I spoke to him about this because this looked the least like a food cart to me.
Yes.
But it's saying that the food would go sort of in the gap between the legs, and you could have the cash register on the raised bit of wood behind the leg. But I mean, this is just it's so out there. It's fantastic. Like it's
almost Game of Thrones-esque. It's almost
yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that, how would that not grab your attention?
100%. All right, next we've got Thunderbird with this really great Wicked Snacks cart with a spider web wheel and a big animatronic raven. Some really fun snacks. This is a fun cart.
Yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere near it because I don't like birds that much. So
animatronic bird?
Animatronic birds I'm okay with. Yeah.
I dig it. I dig it a lot. I like the bone-shaped pretzels. I think that's really cute.
I would love to see again, sort of push the talking trash can style. That bird become a barker bird that somebody can man and just talk with the guests.
Pirates of the Caribbean, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, next we have Stephen Warren with this beautiful wood. Is there a second slide to this one, Rob?
No, I think you just did this concept for it. But yeah,
a gorgeous little piece of concept art for a very spooky. It's like the wood, like the wood's made its own cart instead of taking over a cart, which I really think is kind of clever.
Yes, yeah, it doesn't look man-made in the slightest. And you've got sort of the haunted trees, you've got the moss as a canopy, you've got kind of these skull forms whirling around it. But yeah, it's very kind of Tim Burton, Corpse Bride-y. That's the vibe I got from this one.
If making a food cart would help defeat Thanos, Groot could Stormbreaker this thing up. In a heartbeat. So
Absolutely.
There's the IP tie-in.
Groot's haunted food
Greenlit.
cart. All right, up next we have Kim Henley, which has the Best Interactivity Award. Rob, talk to me about this one.
Okay, so this is the Sugar Spiders stump, and I just love the ideas that Kim came up with. So it's kind of like the Flash Gordon stump, as is my understanding. So you have the side that faces the guests. They've kind of got these holes and knots and things like that, and some of them are like boo holes. So you have like a spider jumping out at you, and other ones you can sort of see the spiders spinning together the snacks, which I think is such a cool thing. And it'd be great for kids because that'll be right at their eye level to be able to sort of stick their head and take a look at that. And then the side facing the cast member, they could obviously, create the snacks or form them and do all the business they need to do. But yeah, I just thought it's something to look at because you're watching the spiders, and also, the interactivity of is something going to jump out at you and scare you. It's just really clever.
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, up next we have Adam James D. and his Blood Apple Tree. This is really fun. I love the bright color.
And the colours in this one are fantastic, yeah.
The two things I wanted to draw attention to on this one is, the menu's very clever because everything's apple themed because it's this monster apple tree. And then this note, which I missed when I retweeted it, animatronic birds are trying to eat the blood apples. Angry apple voices sing to shoo them away. So can you imagine like this being built for real? Like what a sight it would be.
Yeah.
Like singing monster haunted apples singing animatronic birds.
What am I telling you?
It's like
OLED apples, man. OLED apples would make this thing. Sorry, this is a running joke.
I think Dan's invested in OLED technology somewhere. We got to look at his portfolio. He likes pushing OLED. Yeah, I think this would capture that spirit of like the singing busts in the Haunted Mansion, right? Like people would just linger around this cart just to watch that and record it and take photos and yeah.
It's almost Tiki Bird-esque, with the apple singing above you.
Ooh,
and things like that. It's reminiscent.
Although, Jack wouldn't order from this one. Too afraid of birds.
Yeah.
That's another no.
Up next, we got Carlos Martinez with his popcorn stand design. Not another popcorn stand. This is root corn, where you can smell, taste, and see, touch in a scary environment. This is really pretty.
This is another one that's it's well thought out because you've got smells, you've got a chimney, you've got all these effects going, and then the drawing itself is so tactile because no two surfaces are the same. So it would have such great visual interest when you look at it if they ever built it for real, and the flavor's really fun too.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, up next we have Fuzzy Pandas and the Sweet Patch.
Whoa.
The behemoth melon looms before you, tantalizing your taste buds with the smell of sweet pumpkin pie and frothy spiced chocolate. I would love to see a stand like this in the parks.
Well, I love how and I love when anytime this happens, the actual like food you're getting is also like not just the food item, but the wrapping or the cup or anything like that is themed to what you're getting. And so to have like the pie come on like this big leaf, or to have the drinks come in this sort of hollowed out log is just a really nice touch.
It's almost like Theme Park Tycoon, that game where like you pop a little burger stand there and it's a massive burger. It's like that kind of style theming, The thing is pumpkin themed, so why not have a massive pumpkin and have somebody just hollowed out, inside the pumpkin? Yeah, it's great.
All right, up next we have Amma Ravenswood, the Lonely Alon's Carriage. At first glance, you would not want to go near this weirdly crafted cart. This seems to be alive and actually pushes the cart. Whoa, that would be really, really cool. So a giant tree is walking and pushing the cart. That is a really fun idea.
This is creating this character because, Lonely Alan is this like living tree who's sick of trees or ants having this bad reputation for so he's trying to make amends by being a nice one. So he's made a cart out of his own branches and he's just going out to try and like make humans happy. That that broke my heart, that story, and it's just a drawing. But like, I'm fully invested. I'm Team Alan.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. I love, and so here's a quick look at the mechanism that would operate the legs, as well as some moving branch mechanisms. A lot of thought went into this one. It's really, really great.
What I like about it too is that the design of how it moves slowly is then also tied back into his character as like he's this big lumbering tree. So it's not just, well, it's supposed to move one way, but reality dictates it moves another. Like that, it's tied together, so it works. It just clicks.
All right, up next we have Lisa K. Tate, the plant food, creepy botanical themed confectionaries. This is really fun. I love all
this.
Plants.
This looks like Little Shop of Horrors. I mean,
yes,
instant vibes of that.
And all the designs, because you can imagine like each snack being shaped like a different plant, and then it looks more like a gardener's wagon than a snack wagon. But you can have so much fun designing those to be all sorts of different bits of confectionery.
Purely edible lollipops. Yeah, I love that. That's really, really fun. All right, up next we have Eric Ward with this really fun stand. Miss Briarthorn was a botanist who would travel through the haunted forest in search of strange and unusual plants to add to her collection. Her most prized possession was an overgrown vine, the same vine that ultimately did her in, ensnaring her cart in its grasps. This is really fun.
The way it's being held together by the vine as well. That'd be it'd be so great to like see that actually created by Imagineers or Universal Creative to actually make that kind of thing.
Is pie on a stick like a real thing now, or is this like
nope?
Because that's an awesome idea.
I'm guessing it
pie on a stick.
Yeah, someone's pie on a stick.
Rob's like,
I need to go find some pie on a stick. I love this idea.
I mean, that's what makes it a winning
hey guys, I gotta go. I'm gonna go find some pie.
Yeah, right. I gotta Google pie on a stick.
All right. Up next, we have Josiah E. with Ripley's specialty cotton candy stall. So this is like a giant mechanical beast that sells cotton candy out of its mouth. This is incredible.
This has been so well thought out. I'm assuming Josiah is some kind of engineering student because, I mean, there's dimensions, there is a brand of cotton candy maker that he wants to use, and then the most impressive thing, and I went on a bit of a deep dive after this, was like how this thing is going to move, because this is a giant spider crab, but this is going to be walking through the land, and it's based on this artist called Theo Jansen, who makes these like Strandbeest.
Strandbeest
is Dutch. Strandbeest, okay. So they're either wind-powered or mechanical powered, but they have such an organic movement to the way they've been thought out. So just the thought of this food stand walking on like crab pincers through a land, I mean, that's mind-blowing. I love that so much.
It's almost like Boston Robotics in many ways, especially that image there on the right. But a lot of these very intricate, very elaborate designs that can move, they'd almost be like a parade before they. They'd almost be like a parade before they actually move them into the land. So you can almost get like double, money out of it. So use them as a parade and also use them as some sort of a restaurant or food stand.
Oh, definitely be an event.
That's Star Wars stage.
Yeah, but never gets used. Oh, I know what you mean. But the moving one, yeah,
the shortest, saddest parade ever.
Yeah. Wave at the LED screens.
All right, up next we have the Sequoia Gang with this really fun punk wudgies. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Punk wudgies.
Yeah.
Are malicious creatures, but some remember kinder times. This is really fun. A big greenhouse where you're putting the haunted forest inside the food cart. Sign me up.
That's so cool. Yeah. This kind of looked like Harry Potter to me with the herbology greenhouses. And then you've got this fun mechanic where you've got this little totem, which I'm guessing would be a souvenir cup. And you put it in the hole and it fills up with, the sap or whatever you're going to drink. That's a nice little, mechanic to get people involved.
Yes, this is really, really fun. All right, up next we have Sir DJ 2020 with the Treacher Creature Cart. Treater, tree eater, treater. You know what? This is
Treat or creature cart.
treat or creature cart. I like that it's just one big scary face. I would love the idea of it being interactive and talking and like looking around. This would be a great thing to use some OLED panels in.
I was waiting for the next OLED.
Have you got some to sell, Dan? Have you got some OLED panels you'd like to sell?
He's got shares. It's all rigged.
I just think that that's.
I've got some right here. Yeah.
I do really like the kind of slight twist on a typical bottle. Like that's the kind of bottle that people are gonna go. They might not even want the drink initially, but they're gonna go get it because they want the bottle to bring it home and like put it on a shelf or something.
You can pick some of those
I was thinking this could
grocery store in Alabama right now.
I would be surprised.
12-pack of them.
No, I really like this. I think this is really cool. All right, up next we have Shelley Warmoth and her. The cursed pumpkin is run by a ghost girl, Amelia. She was lost in the woods when she fell off the family cart while trying to pass through the gloom wood. Man, this is a depressing start. She's such a picky eater that she starved to death. The ghost effect is achieved by filters in the glass in the cart, alternating by makeup and costuming. Amelia's scary godmother took pity on her girl's lost soul. This is really. I love this. I love the story of this being like a
very dark. Yeah.
Yeah, like a haunted mirror. Like an enchanted mirror. I think this is really fun.
I like the leaf bowl things get served in because it's all fitting into this haunted forest look, and then the whole thing being a giant pumpkin.
Reminds me a little bit of what was that movie with Daniel Radcliffe in? That was
Harry Potter.
No, he was in like a scary one. Scary movie. Woman in Black. Yeah, it's a little bit like that almost. It has
very, very
a little spooky.
Yeah.
All right. Next we have Olivia with gastronomic provisions. This is a beautiful cart design.
Wow. The illustration by itself is so beautiful with all the colors and the idea that you've taken a cart and then you've got these mushrooms coming out of it. But the reason this one has won Best Backstory is because there's this whole short story which is not just applying to the cart, but this could be a whole land. You could have attractions based on it by having this. I think he's a matchstick tycoon who came in, started logging forest, and the forest started taking revenge. So you'd have this whole town with trees growing out of it, vines, mushrooms reclaiming it. So I think that's just such a great starting point for a whole world of attractions, food carts, design. That's why I got Best Backstory.
Yeah.
This is going to sound strange, but if you look at it, it reminds me a lot of Pandora in the Animal Kingdom, because when I first looked at this cart, my initial reaction is, oh no, it's way too heavy on the side, it's going to tip over. But through Imagineering design, obviously that wouldn't happen, and you'd have this cart that almost in a weird way defies physics, because you just have like all these mushrooms on one side and not on the other, and it just makes it eye-catching because it kind of betrays what you're expecting to happen with it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I really, really dig it. Up next, we have Jojo Leavanti. You know what? And Michael, Jojo and Michael with this, man, this one has way too many words that I cannot pronounce.
It might be Belete Tree food cart.
Yeah.
I tried going through Google Translate to try and, pronounce these things somewhat right, but apologies if it's not right. But this is such a beautiful entry, and it goes on to the next page with these the drawings they've done 3D mock-ups of the food, because it's all about Lady Gagamba, who's sort of this spider spirit, and she has this tree that's being possessed, and if you're good you can get treats, if you're evil you end up in this cocoon. So this whole thing is this giant ancient tree made of these roots, and then the things you see hanging are people. So it'll be moving, there'll be eyes, they'll be saying things like help me, and they light up at night, and they go into so much detail, and it's such a beautiful concept. It also won Spookiest because this is absolutely horrifying what has been come up with, but in the best possible way.
It's almost like Alien meets Pandora. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that. And then this also reminds you, like, one of the great things about theme design is it exposes you to, things you never would have seen in your day-to-day life, like other cultures or history or architecture, things like that. So I believe this is all based on kind of like, it's got a Filipino slant to it in terms of, the mythology and the food. And it's something that, I've got no grasp on, but now, it's got me interested and I want to start doing more research.
Absolutely.
That just looks terrifying. You're going to scare away the arachnophobia market there, but I mean, everyone else, I think, is going to be real drawn into it.
Well, there's no birds.
No birds. So Jack's fine. Yeah.
No.
Jake's. All right, perfect.
Lost the airport. But
Up next, we have Spade, which is the Witch's Brew. I can see this one selling ice cream and specialty floats and cocktails. Mushrooms on the side are intended as counter space for napkins, straws, utensils. Boy, oh boy, this is gorgeous.
Yeah, and that's why it won the most beautiful, because the design of it is just absolutely stunning. I mean, this looks like concept art for, an animation or an actual, cartoon. It's just such a nice take on a tree, and the shapes and forms and the colors and the details and the line work. Everything works perfectly. Like, I want to print of this on my wall.
And I love that they've included a day and a night rendering, because so much of any theme park design is how is it going to look, at noon on a Florida sun, but how is it also going to look at night in the dark? And this looks beautiful in both.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love it. I really love it. Up next is the last category, Rob, right?
Yeah, ghastly ghosts, because of course, if it's a haunted forest, it needs to be haunted by something. So these are designs where the cart is more inspired by the things that are haunting this forest.
Awesome. First is Carly with this carnival popcorn stand. Ooh, this is spooky. Ooh.
It definitely reminds me of haunted mansion concept art.
Yeah.
Sort of a carriage, but it's kind of got this umbrella on top and all these beautifully adorned poles. So it looks very kind of well-to-do, but gothic and spooky.
It feels like something they'd roll out for the haunted holiday mansion. You know what I mean? Like you throw a little Jack Skellington, throw a little Halloween Town on this, and boy, this is like a golden design for that.
Perfect.
Then we got Morgan Carlisle. We got Morgan here.
Hello.
Morgan Carlisle. Most humans never made it out of the haunted forest alive, where the Ghoulgrim family's pie cart lost a wheel deep in the woods 10 years ago. They were sure they would meet the same fate. So it turns out the creatures of the forest have quite a sweet tooth and like their pies. That's a great background story. The forest was going to kill you, but you make a strong pie.
Honest. Keep baking and no one gets hurt.
Yeah.
It's the name of a new cooking show.
Now we have Binman Art with this really wonderful kind of haunted mansion, the grave indulgences. I love this. They need to do this for just the merch cart outside of the haunted mansion at Disneyland. Like, this is what they need to like just completely redo that little merch area with. Like, this is beautiful.
Exactly. They've got Memento Mori, so I mean, just keep expanding that area out, like take over the entire land. But yeah, this is just really clever. Having an ice chest be a coffin, that's genius. And then you've got the haunted mansion busts, skulls, bats, all the good stuff.
If you worked in like some sort of like, especially having the Grim Reaper just at the front of the cart, if you made that like a very simple animatronic that every so often like looked over his shoulders or just moved around a little bit, it would add so much to that immersiveness.
Yeah. I love it. Looks really great. Next we have Lars. Ooh, this is a futuristic spooky one. The year's 2068.
Yeah, this is called the Yeo Outpost. So again, flattery gets you everywhere. But then the idea of doing a science fiction haunted wood never occurred to me. So the backstory on this is pretty dense. I mean, it starts 2038, I believe, when they lose these ghost hunters. Then in 2068, so even further in the future, they've got all their equipment and they're using it because they used to freeze ghosts to make nitro ice cream. So that's a clever link between the backstory and what you're actually serving. Yeah, I just was not expecting to see sci-fi.
Reminds me a little bit of Doctor Who.
Yes.
Oh, really?
You know how
Yes.
sometimes Doctor Who goes into the future, but then also there's like a ghostly element to it. You know, it's something that's never really explored. But yeah, it's good. Great
I
concept.
like this design a lot. All right, up next we have Josiah DePayo. I can't.
Paoli?
I love that Dan has to read out the names.
Yeah, it's the worst, and I'm dyslexic, so it's really as you can tell as I'm reading.
Okay.
After ghost hunters in the forest capture ghosts, what happened? They sell their catches to ghostly gobbles, and the owner turns them into food. That is a really fun concept.
Because it's so great. All the food has been designed to feel like it's been made out of ghosts. So you've got, the Spectre, which is cotton candy. You've got ghost jerky, which is kind of fruit leather. And then you've got phantom fluff, which is dipped marshmallows. But that's so clever. Like, you get that concept by looking at it, because you'll have the ghost sort of swirling around, you have the orbs, and then the food being directly linked to that is really clever and really imaginative.
The ghosts in like the window or the mirror or whatever it is that's trapped all the ghosts there. That's just fantastic design.
Hopefully an OLED screen.
Yeah, exactly. I think I know somebody who could sell you one if you need one.
Just that when the screen shows black, it's not backlit, because each OLED can individually light itself. It allows you to get true
I
black.
need to tell you about micro LED.
Otherwise, at night when you stumble upon this cart, you're going to see this black mirror, and you're going to be like, "That's glowing a little bit. Something's definitely going to happen there." But without that, listen, I'm not crazy. Up next we have TF1 Design here with this traveling salesman, Dr. I'm trying to find the I can't read it. It's the picture's so small. Dr. Renault's Brew, right? Is that what it is? Rob?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so what's really clever about this is he's selling brews, and then the different flavors supposed to have different properties and ward off different creatures, like one for ghosts, one for vampires, one for werewolves, one for ghouls, which is really clever. And then they each come in this souvenir cup that's also a lantern, which will have lights in. And then on top of that, through RFID, when it senses you're getting close to a werewolf or whatever the corresponding beast is, it'll start glowing extra bright. And I thought that was such a great, like, interactive merch element that needed to be recognized.
This is I really love this one a lot. This is one of my favorites. I love that you could just immediately put this in like Harry Potter, and
yes, absolutely,
and or maybe in like the new Fantastic Beasts, because just that, the color scheme, the style, the parks, those lands are already full of all those interactive like areas. I love tying it to the land. This is like a Magic Band celebration.
And I love that this is not just like one single cart. It's kind of like it's almost like you'd think out of a traveling caravan. It's just like this setup. You've got the two carts. You've got all the luggage off to the side. It looks like whoever's running this really just is camping down for a short time.
Yeah, and they're going to have a screen in the window, which looks like he's shuffling back and forth, preparing things. So it looks like it's lived in.
And no wonder it's Dan's favourite.
You know what? No comment. Next we have Hayden Evans. The Cadaverous Parlor offers they who journey to the cemetery in the wood a bit of refreshment. Perhaps you'll be able to reach the final destination these unfortunate few never could quite make. This is gorgeous.
It's an absolutely stunning piece of artwork, and it reminds me of 60s Disneyland concept art in that style. It's just fantastic.
It's
extremely creepy, which I love.
Like, I would want to print this in my home. This is one of those things that I would have a print in my home, and people would be like, "What's the story about that?" And be like, "Well, it's the Cadaverous Parlor. It never made it to the parks, but it's beautiful, isn't it?"
I'm not getting paid for this, but he is selling prints of this now because it got such a good response on his Instagram. So if you want it, go check him out.
Well, sold. Up next, we have Dizwire with the... you know what? I'm not even going to... Rob, what's it called?
Is my favorite.
Okay, this is the Spukachtige Beerwagen.
It's gorgeous.
Yes, this is... call this the golden armchair. So this is the best overall entry because he went so deep into every single element of this entry So basically, the premise is you had some beer sellers who went missing in some haunted forest, and now their ghosts are selling you the beer from the wagon that's still there. But if you click through, it's got this really clever mechanic where when you're pouring the beer, which, by the way, is bioluminescent yeast, which he's looked into, rather than just saying it's glowing beer, he's actually worked out how you can actually do it with existing technologies. It looks like it's being poured from a tap out of fog and then magically fills up. But there's the mechanic, which he's also designed, where it's being filled from beneath. So it has that magic trick element to it, which is so clever. And he's even picked out a part of a real theme park where it would fit in thematically and space-wise. So this just ticked all the boxes. It was really, really well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
That round of applause.
Yeah. I love the idea of taking those like stadium beer cups that can fill from the bottom and like theming it. This is
it's Disney magic. That's like that is Imagineering magic. To take that technology and just put a story and a theme and immerse it into a world. It's just like that's a perfect example of it.
But what I love most about it is it's like the mechanism of the actual, if you actually just took the kegs themselves and actually stripped it all away, it's just the mechanism of actually pouring a drink. And then it's just so well themed, and it's just the simplistic nature of it, but yet such a complex like mechanism to actually pour the drink and everything like that. It's just so well thought out. It's simple yet extremely complicated and intricate at the same time. It's brilliant. I love the fact that it's the bulk of it.
I think that's the beauty of Imagineering, though, when you take things that, alone could be, fine little tricks, but then weaving what is actually very simple or very old or very, classic things into a story, and then the sum of those are greater than its parts, because you're creating this whole mind-blowing experience.
Yeah. It's like Pepper's Ghost in Haunted Mansion, one of the simplest tricks, but yet most effective. Yes. And it's exactly the same sort of thing here.
It's either being a little bit of like of trouble in terms of this being a popular cart and tapping a stream of steam, like a stream of smoke each time. Maybe it's the kind of thing where the taps are always open and the smoke's always flowing down. But just by putting the magic cup into the magic, something like that, just to speed up the process
to make it easier.
Because like the green and blue juice. The green and blue milk, you know what I mean? Like, it had this campy vibe, but eventually just like, forget that, we gotta move. So, I love this. I think it's great. I think this is gorgeous. It's fantastic. So let's give it up one more time for Diswire for getting the golden armchair. Good job, Diswire. And now, Rob, this brings us to challenge number 2.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, what could that be? I just wanted to say there will be another challenge coming soon. So keep your eyes on social media to find out what the challenge is and what the entry deadline is. But I just want to say a massive thank you to every single person who entered, because I was blown away by the creativity, how they took one brief, which seemed pretty straightforward, and then took it in so many random directions, created such beautiful artwork and backstories, and really used their individual creativities to interpret it in fantastic ways. And I can't wait to see what comes next.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us for the challenge 1 of Armchair Imagineering. Once again, a big thanks to Jack from DSNY Newscast, the leader of the Waltoneers.
Thanks for having me. It's been fantastic looking at all of these concepts. It's been really great.
Also, a big thanks to Rob Plays, my bromine brother.
Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
And of course, the world-renowned theme park designer Rob Yeo. Thank you so much for hosting this challenge. It's been a real treat.
Thank you very much for your input, guys. It's been invaluable and so much fun. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah, we'll see you guys again for Armchair Imagineering Challenge number 2. Stay tuned and follow Rob Yeo on Twitter to get the details when the challenge drops. Thanks, everyone.